Hi, welcome to Future Technos. So this is the Nikon Z8. You can think of it basically like a baby Z9 with a few new features that make for an excellent offering in the Nikon Z system. Like the Z9, the Z8 has no mechanical shutter. It offers a 45.7 megapixel stacked full-frame sensor with blackout-free shooting. The Z8 also supports burst speed shooting up to 20 frames per second in RAW. In JPEG, you have the option of 30 frames a second or even 120 frames a second. The camera's video specs support up to 8K 60p or 4K 120p with the same impressive variety of options found in the Z9. You get H.265 ProRes, N-Log, as well as ProRes RAW and N-Log RAW options. The camera features the same AI-driven autofocus that updates 120 times per second in continuous modes. Nikon has even added a new airplane detection algorithm. The Z8 is an impressive offering that in many ways mirrors the Z9, except in a smaller form factor, and best of all, it comes at a lower price. Welcome back, everyone! In this video, we're going to talk about the brand new Nikon Z8, which I had exactly one day to do some shooting with. I want to thank Nikon for making that possible. Today, I'll give my first impressions, share some thoughts, and talk about the pros and cons of this camera. It's very impressive, so let's dig in. For the most part, the Z8 is a smaller version of the Z9. But there are a few key differences. The body is much smaller, which is great for photographers who prefer lighter gear. It's not as compact as the Z6 or Z7, but it reminds me of the D850 in design and handling. That's a good move from Nikon because many longtime Nikon users will welcome that familiar feel. It's a design language Nikon has done well for many years. One of Nikon's strengths is consistency in how their cameras operate across the lineup. This one feels the most like a DSLR out of the 5 full-frame mirrorless cameras Nikon has released so far. It's slightly smaller than a DSLR, but the ergonomics give a nod to shooters who prefer that style. The Z8 introduces some new features too. On the side of the body, you'll find dual USB-C ports. That means you can use power delivery and data transfer at the same time. For professionals, that's a serious benefit. It might be a niche feature for some, but for working photographers, it shows Nikon is serious about making this camera a pro tool. Another exciting feature is the 2 new tone modes for RAW stills. This idea comes from video, where you can shoot in standard dynamic range or HLG. Now, Nikon lets you do the same with RAW still photos. SDR means standard dynamic range. HLG means hybrid log gamma. With HLG, you capture a much wider range of tones. That means more highlight detail and more shadow detail. Even if you output to a standard JPEG or a print, you'll still benefit from that extra information in your edit. When you choose HLG tone mode, the base ISO shifts. Instead of 64, it moves to 400. That's the same behavior we see when shooting log or HLG video. You'll need to keep this in mind depending on your subject. Because there is no mechanical shutter, you can go as fast as 1/32,000th of a second. But in bright light, you may need ND filters if you want to use slower shutter speeds. I only had one day with this camera, which included shooting all the test clips. I only managed to capture a few test images, but I promise in my full review, I'll push this much further. Nikon provided beta software for testing the files. Lightroom reads the RAW files, but only in SDR for now. Nikon's own NX Studio Beta supports HLG properly. It has enormous potential, but we'll have to wait for wider software support. Interestingly, Lightroom already supports the standard RAW files from the Z8. That's rare with a brand new release. Normally, it takes about a month for Lightroom to catch up. So this is great news for early adopters. The HLG files load too, but appear as SDR. You can still edit them, which means photographers can work from day one. I tested the Z8 RAW files with my own preset packs that emulate classic film stocks. These are presets I developed over 2 years, aiming to recreate the color and contrast of classic Fujifilm and Kodak films. I love the flexibility of digital, but I miss the way film interpreted color. So I made presets like Astia, Provia, Velvia, Portra, Kodachrome, and many others. I use them in my own work, and they gave me a good way to see how the Z8 files respond to color grading. The results looked fantastic. But let's return to the camera itself. Overall, the Z8 is an incredible offering. It delivers huge value for both stills and video shooters. The video features are so strong that I even considered using Nikon for my own channel videos. That's something I never thought I would say. The Z9 first made me think about Nikon as a video tool, but the Z8 goes further. It's smaller, easier to handle, and just as powerful. The video quality is outstanding. The files look clean and sharp. The stabilization is very good for handheld work. For hybrid shooters, this camera really shines. If we go back to the idea of it being a baby Z9, that comparison makes sense. Personally, I don't like big cameras with built-in grips. If you prefer that style, the Z9 is your best choice. But for me, a smaller camera is better. The Z8 delivers that. Performance-wise, the Z8 is extremely powerful and very responsive. The main difference compared to the Z9 is battery life. The Z9 lasts longer, about 700 shots per charge. The Z8 manages about 275 shots. That's a big gap, but Nikon offers a battery grip option for the Z8. You can also use USB-C power delivery. For most people, it will still be fine. Now I want to touch on one small complaint. Nikon removed the mechanical shutter from both the Z9 and the Z8. That means you only shoot with an electronic shutter. It works very well. It's fast and silent. But it creates an odd problem. You either have the fake shutter sound effect or complete silence. With silence, there's no response at all when you press the shutter. No blackout, no sound, nothing. It feels strange, especially when shooting bursts. On a phone, you get haptic feedback to simulate a press. I wish Nikon could add something similar to give a sense of confirmation. It's not a deal breaker, but it's worth noting. Aside from that, this camera is one of Nikon's best. It sits alongside the Z9 as one of the most impressive cameras they have ever built. Let's talk about price. Nikon gave me a number, but it wasn't final. By the time you watch this video, the final price will be known. And yes, it will be expensive. These are professional tools. But when you consider the features, the value is very high. The Z9 was already priced lower than competing flagships from other brands. The Z8 gives you nearly all of those features at a smaller size and lower cost. That's incredible value. So to sum up my first impressions, the Nikon Z8 is a powerhouse. It combines speed, resolution, video capability, and autofocus intelligence in a compact package. It has a few limitations like shorter battery life and no mechanical shutter, but its strengths far outweigh them. For photographers and videographers looking for a serious camera, this is an exciting option.